Hey guys, Glock Chef. For those of you who have been here before, welcome back. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and have a look around. We've got some other great videos that are up on the channel, up on the feed. Go ahead and check those out when you're done here. If you like what I have to say, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to see what we have coming up in the future. We're right now putting out about 1 to 2 videos a week. We'd like to increase that number to 2 to 3. If you would, go ahead and hit that bell so that way you get a notification when new videos drop. Unfortunately, right now, we're not on a good schedule. We're still trying to work things out with production, but eventually we'll get to a point of normalcy, and we'll have lots of great content coming out in the future. So, lots to look forward here at the Clock Chef channel. This past weekend, I'm sure we've all spent a lot of time with our families. We've been relaxing, eating, rejoicing in the raising of our Savior from the dead and the deliverance of all mankind from sin into the salvation of heaven. It's a time for meditation. It's a time for reflection. And it's a time where we all come together and we think about what's important. Now, naturally, me being a gun guy, this led to me thinking about our guns and our freedoms and why we hold so dearly to gun culture in America. Now, this can go a number of different ways, and I'm sure there's people who are going to disagree with what I have to say. This is America. It's your right to disagree with what I have to say. That being said, I believe that America has such a strong belief in its gun culture because of the way our country was founded, because of the principles on which our country was founded, because of the way that the men who wrote the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence believed. I believe that our country was founded on freedom and the rifle. I believe that without the rifle, we would not have survived as a nation. And I believe that without guns, we would not be the strong nation that we are today. Back in the 1700s and 1800s, a family that didn't have a rifle had to rely on other skills. They couldn't provide food for their own table, so they had to rely on someone who had a rifle to do so. They had to provide services for them, whether it was farming, whether it was sewing, tailoring, blacksmithing, whether it was shipping, whether it was manufacturing. Whatever they had to do in order to trade with the person who was hunting, who was fishing, who was trapping, they would do it. Life was a lot easier for those who could go out and hunt and provide their own meat, provide their own food. And it was also a lot safer for those who owned weapons because, let's face it, back in those days, we didn't have the modern defenses that we do today. We weren't as separated and removed from nature as we were today. So to have a bear or a wolf or a coyote wander into a town and attack was not unheard of. Neither were random raids from Native Americans. Neither was, well, danger of any kind. These were pioneering times. They were in a new land. There was nothing really established as far as the common defense and common protection. So they had to make do with what they had. Their rifle. Your average family kept one above the mantelpiece. It was the center of the living room. Well, in today's America, the center of the living room is the 55-inch flat screen. But back then, the center of their living room was their hearth and their rifle, because it's what their family depended upon for survival. When it came time to declare our independence, we talked with the British. And when that didn't work, when the British said, "We're coming for you, we're coming for what's yours," we shot them. We depended again upon the rifle. And we used our rifles to declare our independence and to show the world that we were our own free state, our own great United States of America. We fought for our freedom. We won our freedom. And we did so again in the War of 1812. Our American military and our American patriots have utilized the rifle to keep our country safe since we were established as a nation. Our sovereignty exists because of our relationship with our rifles, because of our relationship with our handguns. So, are we so much as a culture that looks to gun culture for entertainment, for amusement? No, we're not. We're a country that was developed around our gun culture. We're a country that was developed around a desire to remain free at any and all costs. We won our freedom by the barrel of the rifle, not by the pen, not by the Declaration. It was the rifle that instilled our freedom. So, that being said, it's obvious to see where our dependence and where our love for our weapons comes from. Our country was established on our love and our need for our weapons. If we hadn't had our weapons, we wouldn't be a country. That being said, as our country expanded and we moved further west, the rifle again came forward. It put food on the tables of those who were moving in the wagon trains. It helped found frontier towns, and it helped defend those frontier towns from attacks by Native Americans, foreign trappers, animals, both the two-legged and four-legged variety. It fed everyone, it protected everyone. Law and order was established on the barrel of a lever-action rifle. The sheriff carried his rifle, the sheriff carried his handgun, and if the law needed to be enforced, the sheriff would use those tools of law enforcement in order to enforce the law. Now, there were obviously some who tried to go against that. There were the outlaws. There were the greats. We've all heard of them. Billy the Kid, for example. You know, they wanted to use their guns to terrorize people. Well, good people had to stand up against them and take them down. And the only thing they used to take them down was the gun. So there again, American culture in the West revolved around the rifle and the handgun. They used it for protection. They used it to put food on their tables. Again, the rifle was the centerpiece of the American family. Those who owned one knew that they had financial security because they could feed themselves. They could establish their own homestead and they could put food on their own tables. They didn't need someone else to work for. They didn't need the government to provide them with a stipend. They could survive on their own. They were self-sufficient. You move into the later days of American history, and you see that people are keeping revolvers, keeping semi-automatics at home for protection. Again, we as Americans rely on our firearms for protection. Now, we've got a country that was established on guns. We've got a country that was established on conflict. So to take the guns away from the good people is not going to change the importance of firearms in our history. It's just going to change how they're looked upon. If you take firearms away from the law-abiding citizens and you take firearms away from good people, no longer is that firearm, that rifle, that handgun going to be looked upon favorably by the American people. The only people who will have them is the people who want to prey upon the innocent, who want to prey upon the weak. And if we surrender those weapons and we allow that to become our reality, then the last 200 some odd years that we've used our rifles and our handguns to fight for our freedom, fight for our independence, and fight for our safety and security are meaningless. All those men and women who came across the frontier died for no reason. So gun culture is very important to Americans for that reason. It's very important to me for that reason. However, there's another reason why I think gun culture is extremely important to Americans. And this is the reason I think gun culture is the most important to most gun owners today. Sentimental value. We all have that gun that we got from Grandpa, that we got from Papa, that we got from our father, that we got from our great-grandfather. That rifle, that handgun that we learned how to shoot on. That first buck that we took at the age of 13 or 14 with our fathers in the woods. We all remember what kind of rifle or shotgun we were carrying. That hunt, that first experience and that first breach into manhood all came because of that rifle or that shotgun that sits in your safe. And when you pull that gun out and you look at that gun, you have that memory. We as human beings are tactile creatures. Our memories are based on things we can see, things we can smell, things we can feel. When I shoot my grandfather's revolver, his Security 6, his .357 Magnum, it feels like he's standing right there next to me at the range. Now, that's something I never got to experience. Unfortunately, my grandfather passed away when I was just a young boy. But having that revolver by my side, having that revolver in my safe, every time I take it out to look at it, it's like he's got his hand on my shoulder. And I feel like we have all got that weapon, that we pull it out of the safe. And it feels like our fathers, our grandfathers, our grandmothers, whatever ancestor passed that weapon on to you, you feel that they're there with you because you're holding that same rifle, that same handgun that they used to protect their family, that they used to put game on the table, that maybe they taught you how to hunt with. They're holding it in the same manner that you hold it now. And that brings them closer to us, whether they're still here or not. I think we can all look back and remember the first time we ever fired a rifle and we decided, you know what? This is for me. In my case, the first weapon I ever fired was a Savage 22 bolt-action rifle. I don't know the make and model of it. I wasn't told that. But I know it was a Savage bolt-action 22. And if I saw that rifle again, I would instantly recognize it. It's the rifle I fired in Boy Scouts at the age of 13. Camp Randsburg. I remember they gave us 5 shots each. They had a little wooden tray about that big that held our ammunition. And I remember shooting that rifle every chance I got. They had free shoots every day. I'd go down there every day and I'd shoot that rifle. I remember the first shotgun I ever fired. It was a Remington 870 12 gauge. Had a modified choke and a 22-inch barrel. Held 6 shots in the magazine. I remember it held 6 shots because they would only allow us to load 2. And I remember thinking, well, it's got a 6-shot magazine. We're going to shoot more than 2 shots. Why don't we load it with more than 2 shots? Sport. That's when I learned the importance of sport. When you're shooting clays, it's the extra challenge of having to reload that shotgun under pressure. It's the thrill of watching that clay pigeon explode when you hit it for the first time. You know, it's those guns will always play an important part in my memory. Just like my grandfather's Ruger Security 6 will always play an important part in my memory. Just like maybe your grandfather's 30-30. Or your father's Remington 700 308. Or maybe it's that Mossberg 12 gauge that your dad got you for your 16th birthday. Maybe it's that 6-inch Ruger Security 6 that your mom bought you for your 21st birthday. Maybe it's that college graduation present that your mom bought you. Maybe she bought you a Glock. Maybe she bought you a Sig Sauer. You know, maybe it's the 38 Special that you taught your mom how to fire. These guns all have sentimental value. They all have a reason they're important to us. And it's because of that sentimental value and that sentimental nature that we have as Americans that makes those guns so important to us. That's why we cling to guns and gun culture in our country. Because we have a sentimental attachment to them. Because they remind us of the people that we love. We use them to defend the people that we love. But they've also been used to bring us closer to the people that we care about. To the people that care about us, that taught us how to be men and women, taught us how to be Americans. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing of all. Remembering those who have gone before us, teaching those who will come after us, and handing down our firearms. I hope one day that I have a son that I can hand down my gun collection to. I hope that he will cherish and appreciate my firearms as much as I've cherished and appreciated the firearms I've been given over the years by my mother, my grandfather, and my grandmother. It's that hope and that desire that fuels me as a gun owner and fuels me as an American. Because I know that it's not just my responsibility to teach my children, but it's my responsibility to teach my knowledge and pass that on to those who don't have it. To pass it on to people who don't have the same experience with firearms that I do. Maybe to rid the world of some of the ignorance about firearms. Our country was built on the rifle. If it wasn't for the rifle, our country wouldn't exist. But if it wasn't for the rifle, maybe some of us would have nothing to remember our grandparents by. If it wasn't for the rifle, maybe some of us wouldn't be avid huntsmen, avid outdoorsmen. If it wasn't for the rifle and the desire of people to hunt and the desire of people to be in nature, conservation wouldn't be as powerful of a movement as it is today. Now, obviously, there are people who are interested in conservation that have nothing to do with hunting. They want nothing to do with hunting. And they think it's bad for the environment. But hunting has done more for the environment than anything else because of the fees that are put into conservation. Lawful, legal, responsible hunting is an extremely important part of exercising your Second Amendment rights. It's something that I encourage you to do with your fathers, your grandfathers, your children, your grandchildren. It's an experience that we can all enjoy, men and women, young and old. So let's actually take a chance to remember and to think about why each one of our firearms is important to us. Maybe take out that old Smith and remember the person that gave it to you. Think of the memories of them teaching you how to use it. And realize that an American's obsession with gun culture has nothing to do with action movies, has nothing to do with people being killed, has nothing to do with things being blown up, has nothing to do with the latest action movie. It's not about that. It's about the belief that our country was founded to be something greater than it is. It's about the fact that our guns were handed down to us from people who came before us, who knew more than we did. And it's about the fact that we utilize our guns to protect each other, to protect ourselves. And in times of need, we use those guns to put food on the table as well. I appreciate you taking the time to hear what I have to say. I hope you have all had a happy Easter, and I hope that you all have a good week. For those of you who are in Indiana or traveling to Indiana this week for the NRA convention, I wish you a safe and happy time. It's going to be a good time, folks. I'll see you out there. This is Glock Chef, signing off.